President Bongbong Marcos holds a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the 29th Apec Summit. Let's get the details from Shaila Francisco, who's reporting to us live from Bangkok, Thailand. Shaila, what do we know so far?
Bob, based on the latest social media post by President Bongbong Marcos, his bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping has already begun. This is his first bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart, and they are expected to touch on the West Philippine Sea issue. President Marcos earlier said it may be inevitable to discuss the West Philippine Sea issue with China. Marcos is expected to be accompanied by cabinet secretaries from the DFA and DTI, as well as House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Romualdez says economic issues and improving trade and investment relations will be among the top priorities. As for the West Philippine Sea issue, Romualdez says that if this will be discussed, it may not go as far as the arbitral ruling, since it was raised already in the ASEAN summit last week. Romualdez also belied claims that a visit of U.S. President Kamala Harris in Palawan next week may sour relations with the two countries. He says, if anything, this may show that Philippines is playing a key role in making sure there is a balanced presence in the region. Prior to the bilateral meeting, President Marcos met with the Thai conglomerate CP Group, which showed interest to invest more in the country's agriculture sector. He also spoke before businessmen at the Apec CEO Summit to discuss problems hounding the economies in the region. He cites food security, climate change, and emergence of new health diseases as threats to the economy. Bok, as of now, we don't have any details yet regarding what transpired the meeting, but we are expecting that after the bilateral meeting, both leaders are expected to attend the APEC Economic Leaders Gala dinner, and tomorrow will be a busy day for President Bongbong Marcos. He's set to attend the APEC Leaders Retreat. He's also set to have bilateral meetings with certain countries. Bok?
And thank you for those updates. That was Shaila Francisco reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. And here to give us his insights on President Bongbong Marcos' bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, we have with us on the show Dr. Rommel Banlaoi, President of the Philippine Society for Intelligence and Security Studies. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Ed. Good evening to all.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. Of course, sir, we do expect economic issues to be the main subject of the meeting with Xi Jinping. However, sabi nga ng Pangulo, inevitable na mababanggit o mapag-uusapan ang West Philippine Sea. But what exactly can we expect out of this bilateral meeting, and how far could they possibly go?
Well, as far as I am concerned, I don't expect too much from this bilateral meeting because it is just a very brief meeting between President Marcos and President Xi Jinping. So maybe it's just mentioning the West Philippine Sea to be the key agenda of bilateral talks between the Philippines and China when President Marcos visits China in January. And what I expect during their bilateral meeting is just to size up each other, create a positive vibe and strengthen confidence-building measure in order to provide a more conducive condition for the two leaders to meet in January when President Marcos conducts his first state visit to China. So
yes,
I don't expect too much from this bilateral meeting, but this is very important meeting because the two leaders can set the tone of their discussions for the official visit in January, and they can properly frame the issues that the two countries need to tackle in order to strengthen their bilateral ties amidst the changing security situation in the region. And earlier, President Marcos already delivered a strong message that under his administration, he wants Philippines-China relations to shift to a higher gear. So let's see how high can these bilateral relations reach under the two leaders.
So I like how you put it, sizing up each other, though you don't expect that much for today, but they're sizing up each other. But you also pointed out that this would set the tone for whatever future discussions there may be, including what would happen in January. But what kind of a tone would we expect, or should we expect, that the two leaders can at least agree on?
Well, expect a more positive and optimistic tone because of the deliberate intention of the Philippine government not to mention the International Arbitral Tribunal, because that issue is in fact an issue for China. China made it clear already that as far as the international arbitration case is concerned, China is not following the decision of the arbitration. It does not subscribe with the process of the arbitration and will not abide by the decision of the arbitration. So that's the very clear with President Xi Jinping. So, but I think the two leaders will reiterate the long-standing positions of the two countries, that they will not allow the South China Sea disputes to define the overall nature of bilateral relations between the two countries. So the South China Sea is just one aspect of their bilateral relations. So I think President Xi Jinping will stress the need for the two countries to revisit his plan for the Philippines, and that is to pursue comprehensive strategic cooperation. It means that cooperating in various fields like economic, agriculture, technology, political, people-to-people diplomacy, and the West Philippine Sea is just one aspect of this comprehensive relationship between the two countries. So let's see how President Marcos will buy that kind of narrative from President Xi Jinping.
Of course, sir, that's true that there's more to Philippine-China relations than the West Philippine Sea. Of course, we're talking about the economy as well and a lot of other things as well. But as you also pointed out, China from the very start has said that, non-negotiable yung kanilang position dun sa arbitral ruling. So even at that point, how does one move forward in terms of the West Philippine Sea?
I think there is now a common understanding between the two countries, and I also assume between the two leaders, that when it comes to the West Philippine Sea, in order to move the two countries forward in promoting cooperation, they will set aside the issue of territorial sovereignty and work for joint development. We call that the Deng Xiaoping formula. That is to set aside the disputes and pursue pragmatic cooperation or joint development in the South China Sea. So I expect that kind of discussion to prevail between the two leaders. And I also agree with that kind of formula, because the South China Sea disputes are composed of two major disputes, territorial disputes and marine jurisdictional disputes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And in the area of marine jurisdictional disputes, the two countries can do a lot of things to really cooperate, and that has already been discussed in the various meetings of the bilateral consultative mechanisms in the South China Sea between the two countries. So let's see if they will revive the agenda of the bilateral consultative meeting, agenda to pursue cooperation in the field of political security cooperation, joint fishery management cooperation, marine environmental research, marine environmental protection, search and rescue operations, and the most sensitive is the joint development of natural gas and oil. So these are the things that the two leaders should reflect on, and how they can move forward in order to really pursue more actionable and more concrete cooperative undertakings.
Okay, maraming salamat, Dr. Rommel Banlaoi, the President of the Philippine Society for Intelligence and Security Studies. Thank you, sir.